Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavibhireeditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvigrinanti Te Bhurita Janaha. The nectar of your story, the praise of poets' ears, elixir to past souls, delight of listening ears, the cleanser out of sin is grand and glorious. They who spread it wide on earth are generous. We are starting the first talk of 2023 with the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Today, I'll be dipping into chapter 30 of the Gospel, the Master in Various Moods. Thursday, October 2nd, 1884. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room at Dakshineshwar. Latu, Ramlal, Harish, and Hazara were living with him at the temple garden. Baburam spent a day or two with him now and then. Manilal Malik, Priya Mukherjee, and his relative Hari, a bearded Brahmo devotee from Shibpur, and several Marwari devotees from Calcutta were in the master's room. Manilal was an older member of the Brahmo Samaj. So the heading of the chapter says, Master in Various Moods. Sri Ramakrishna assumes different moods depending upon the person to whom he is talking or addressing. He is like as though he is standing on the top of a tower, and from where he can see people coming from different directions and going up the tower. So depending upon which path they are taking, he will talk to them in that way. And so they feel, oh, he's one of us. And here now, on this day, there are different groups of people. Manilal Malik, he's an old member of Brahma Samaj. And there is another devotee of Brahmo devotee there. Then Priya Mukherjee and his relative Hari, they are more inclined to Vedanta. Then there is Latu, the Maharaj, Sri Ramakrishna's attendant, who later Swami Adbhutananda. Then Harish is also a young devotee. Ramlal, his nephew. Hasra, a very complicated personality who thinks that he knows everything, and sometimes who goes to address Sri Ramakrishna. And then, of course, Yam. So different people are there, so he can see Sri Ramakrishna's teachings will be different. He deals on different topics. Master to Manilal and others. It is wise to salute a person mentally. What need is there of touching his feet? Mental salutation doesn't embarrass anybody. The Brahmos, they don't believe in God with form, and also they don't believe in a human guru. They say Sachidananda is guru, say, because they don't like. Sri Ramakrishna is because he's talking to Manilal, he's saying, what is the need to touch the person's feet? Mentally salute, that's fine. God is within you. Mental salutation doesn't embarrass anybody. Here I remember a few years ago, we had a big discussion. Some of the devotees were doing pranams to Maharaji, and some others objected, why this, we don't like this. So different people's mentality is different. We had to accommodate everybody. So mental salutation doesn't embarrass anybody. The attitude that my religion alone is right and all other religions are false is not good. I see that God himself has become all these, men, images, and salagram. I see one alone in all this. I do not see two. I see only one. Many people think that their opinion alone is right and others' opinions are wrong. That they alone have won and others are lost. There are many people who think that their religion, what they think, is the only correct way. If you think that is correct, that's fine. But the difficulty comes when they think that that is the only correct way. So everybody else should follow my way because mine is the only correct way. That's like saying, I like this dress, so all of you should wear this dress. Or I like this food, so all of you should eat this food. It can't happen. People have got different temperament, different taste. So religion also is according to temperament of people. The different religions have come. That here itself we see the people who are sitting in front of Sri Ramakrishna, they follow a different path. Some are Brahmos, some are Vedantins, some are just pure devotees following a path of devotion. So the attitude that my religion alone is right and all other religions are false is not good. And what is Sri Ramakrishna's attitude? I see that God himself has become all these. He sees only God everywhere. He doesn't see anything else other than Brahman. And about fanatics, he's saying, many people think that their opinion alone is right and others' opinions are wrong. That they alone have won and others have lost. Because my opinion is correct. But a person who has gone forward may be detained by some slight obstacle, and someone who has been lagging behind may then steal a march on him. You know the story of the rabbit and the tortoise? We learn in school, slow and steady wins the race. Some people go fast forward quickly, especially when they start on the spiritual path, in the early enthusiasm, go forward, doing so much. Then there comes some obstacle comes or get tired of the practices and then slow down. Some of the others may be doing steadily because in spiritual path, there is nothing, no quick fix, no instant realization. It is steady. You have to have patience and perseverance. Triumph and defeat is in the hands of God. We cannot understand his ways. Whether who is going to win, who is going to lose on the spiritual path, who is going to attain, go forward, who is going to realize God, we don't know. Even in the ordinary day-to-day happening, what we are going to get, everything happens by the will of God. We try our best, but finally it happens according to his will. So what are we to do? Are we to sitting quietly without doing anything, or everything happens by the will of God? So why should I strive? No, we have to work. Again, we have got a saying, God help those who help themselves. So try to do your best. After struggling, after doing your best, then leave it to God. Then he will make things happen. Why it happens, why it doesn't happen, why success doesn't come after we have strived, we cannot explain. We cannot understand God's will or why it happened, why God does something. He gives some success to some others, others strived hard, but they fail. Why it happens, we cannot explain, we cannot understand. There are many things where we cannot say why. How it happens, we may be able to explain, but why it happens, we cannot have. Many things they cannot understand. We can only say then, that's God's will, and accept it. Manilal. Then what is our duty? Because Sri Ramakrishna said, triumph and defeat is in the hands of God. We cannot understand his ways. Then what is our duty? Manilal is asking, he's a householder. He's an elderly Brahma devotee, master, to remain somehow united with God. That's a That's our duty. Somehow united with God. Remain united. And then he explains, there are two ways, Karma Yoga and Mana Yoga. Householders practice yoga through karma, the performance of duty. There are 4 stages of life, Brahmacharya, Garhastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. Sannyasis must renounce those karmas which are performed with special ends in view. But they should perform the daily obligatory karma, giving up all desire for results. So what is our duty? To remain united with God. Yoga. Yoga is to yoke, to join with God. That's remaining joined with God. That's the meaning of yoga. Now, in early days, Swamiji says, yoga is so profound, it comes with a hush when you speak out the word yoga. But now it's so common, so popular, it has become so much cheap. So many different yoga. It's all doing an exercise. It's become yoga. Yoga is to remain united with God. That's the aim or that duty of everybody. Whether the person is a householder or a monk or nun, monastic. The duty is to remain united with God. Then he says there are two ways, Karma Yoga and Mana Yoga. Karma Yoga is yoga of action. Remain united with God through performance of your duty. And there are 4 stages of life, Brahmacharya, Garhastha. Brahmacharya is the student life. Garhastha, the householder's life. Vanaprastha, retired. And Sannyasa, the ascetic. So these in early days, olden days, the people go through the stages, and as they get older, they say in the description given is, or the prescription given is, when your hair turned gray, when your children have got children, then it's time to retire from the world. So retire from the world, from active life, and spend your time more and more on thinking about higher things. That is Vanaprastha. And then finally you leave everything and become ascetic. At that stage, there is no action, perform any karma, any action. That's why he says, sannyasi must renounce those karmas which are performed with a special end in view. But they should perform the daily obligatory karmas, giving up all desire for results. Now, non-attachment is the basis of all yogas. Whatever, yoga is the name for the goal as well as the path. The goal of all spiritual practices is yoga, to get united with God. And the path that leading to the union with God is also known as yoga. That's why we have got the 4 yogas: yoga of action, yoga of devotion, yoga of knowledge, and yoga of concentration. Whichever path you follow, the aim is the same: you reach union with God. And we can see that non-attachment is the basis of all this. Whatever path you're following, you have to have detachment. Don't get attached to the results of action, to little, if you're following the path of action, don't get attached to the results of action. You do all your duties, but don't get attached to the results. If you're following the path of love, devotion, don't get confined with the smaller love of our world. Expand it. Love the whole world. Seeing God everywhere, God in all. So love everybody. That's also detachment. Then if you are following the path of knowledge, then you see everything is Brahman. There is nothing other than Brahman. To whom will you get? You are also Brahman. There is nothing to get attached to, because there is no second one. The attachment comes when you see a second. When you are following the path of knowledge, you are going to see unity. So there is nothing, no question of getting attached to at all. And path of yoga, concentration, there you don't get attached to all the powers that come. When you follow the path of concentration and meditation, the first thing, all the different powers come to the person who is following that. Don't get attached to that. And he says, even a little bit of attachment to one of those powers will take you away from the path of spirituality, because that's an obstacle on the spiritual path, these powers. It comes naturally. You don't have to struggle for it. As soon as you practice a little bit of concentration and meditation sincerely, go forward a little, those powers come. But they are obstacles. Ignore them and go forward. Then Sri Ramakrishna is continuing. It doesn't matter what kind of action you are engaged in. You can be united with God through any action, provided that performing it, you give up all desire for its results. It's not that you will be united with God only if you perform some certain actions, like only when you're doing worship or prayer, spiritual or doing charity work. No, you can be united with God, whatever action you're engaged in, doesn't matter. Like the other day, on Friday in the discussion, we said about the brahmachari, the butcher, the story comes in the Mahabharata. There was one young man who left his parents, elderly parents, and he went to become an ascetic, went to do spiritual practices, yoga in the forest, and spent days and days meditating, concentrating and meditating. And once in a while, you go to the village to beg some food and come back again, do that. And one day he was sitting, after his meditation, he was sitting quietly under the tree when the dropping from the crow which sat on the tree fell on his head. He got so annoyed and looked at the crow with anger, and the crow was burned to death. So he thought, I'm so powerful now. I got so much of power. He has become so happy. After a few days, he went to the village to beg for food, and went in front of the one house, stood there and asked, please give some alms, as they say. Then came the reply from inside the house. The lady replied, please wait a little. He waited for some time, waited and waited and waited. Again said once more, please give me some alms. Then again the reply came, please wait, I'm coming. Still no sign of the lady coming to give alms. Then the thought came to his mind, this lady doesn't know. She takes me for an ordinary beggar or beggar. She doesn't know how powerful I am. At the moment the thought crossed his mind, came the words from inside. There is no crow here for you to burn. How did she know that he burned a crow? So he became a bit curious and a bit humble. How did she know that what happened in the forest? There was nobody there at that time. Then after some time, she came out and she said, I'm sorry to make you wait because I was looking after my husband who was sick. Then he asked, how did you know what happened in the forest? She said, I knew, but I don't know how. I can't explain. If you want to know, you go to that market in the next town and there is this person, you ask him, he will tell you. And she gave the name. So he straight away went to the town and the market, asked people, where is this person, who is he? They pointed out to the butcher's shop. That's a butcher selling meat. What? Is this the butcher going to teach me? Explain to me what happened. But since the lady sitting in her home knew what happened in the forest, he was a little humble, and anyway went up to him. And straight away, when he saw the butcher saw this man, oh, did that lady send you? Please wait. Please sit down, and gave a seat. He waited. People were coming and buying meat, all that. He finished his business, closed up the shop, then took him home with him, and then made him sit on the veranda, went inside, cared for his elderly parents, gave them, bathed them, fed them, made sure that they were comfortable. And then he came and, now, what can I do for you? First question is, how did the lady know that what happened in the forest? How did you know that the lady sent me to you? He said, by doing our duty without any attachment to the result. That's the only thing. Do your duty, whatever you're doing. She's a housewife, looking after the family. And he is a butcher, selling meat. But because that was the tradition, his father was a butcher, so he followed the same occupation, but not attached to the results. Do your duty without attachment to result, you will reach the highest. That is Karma Yoga. And Sri Ramakrishna says, do your duty to the householder devotees. What he is saying is, do your duty with one hand and hold on to God with the other. You have got your responsibilities. So do your duty with one hand and hold on to God with the other. But when your duties are finished, hold on to God with both hands. There is the other path. A yogi practicing this other path, Mano Yoga. The yogi practicing this discipline doesn't show any outward sign. He is inwardly united with God. So, first one, Sri Ramakrishna spoke about the Karma Yoga, and then next one is Mano Yoga. Mentally united with God, no outward sign. Whatever you are connected with God. There is no outward show. You are doing every day daily duties. Nobody will think or nobody will recognize that you are connected, you're mentally joined with God. He is inwardly united with God. Take Jadabharata or Shukadeva, for instance. There are many other yogis of this class, but these two are well known. They shave neither their hair nor beard. There's no outward sign. They don't wear like ascetics or clothes or shave their head. No, nothing. Externally, there is no sign at all. But inwardly, they are connected with God. In the classic example we have in the Gita, Shri Krishna speaks about King Janaka. King Janaka he's called a Rajarshi, royal sage. He was united with God. He's an knower of Brahman, but he ruling the kingdom in the midst of all activities, all luxury, but his mind is united to Brahman. And you can see how great a person he is from the fact that Vyasa sent his son Shuka to learn from him. Shuka is known as a perfect sage, born as a perfect sage. Still, and sage Vyasa taught him everything that he knew, but Shuka was not still happy. Then Vyasa thought, well, he should have as far as he is concerned, I am the father. He should have a different teacher, then he will understand. So he sent Shuka to King Janaka. So that shows how, in what great respect Janaka was held. And we can see in the Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, great sages, Vyajnavalkya, and they see a Gargi all arguing in Janaka's court, having big debate. Externally, outwardly, he's a king. There's no outward sign, but mentally united with God. All actions drop away when a man reaches the stage of Paramahamsa. He always remembers the ideal and meditates on it. He is always united with God in his mind. If he ever performs an action, it is to teach men. All actions drop away when he reaches the stage of Paramahamsa. That is the highest stage. He always remembers the ideal and meditates on it. He is always united with God in his mind. If he ever performs an action, it is to teach men. He may be doing action, not that he won't do action. Look at the great world teachers. Buddha. Buddha, after attaining nirvana or Buddhahood, the remaining more than 50 years, he constantly was doing work, traveling and teaching. Sri Ramakrishna, after once he have collected all the spiritual treasures, he was distributing. So they perform action, but it is to teach men, not for any, they don't get anything, not for any selfish purpose, no selfish interest. All is for the welfare of the world. And all actions drop away, because they are not forced to do anything. There is no compulsion. For us, we have to do work. As Sri Krishna says in the Gita, even for a moment, a embodied being cannot live without performing action. When breathing is an action. Because we have got this I consciousness, I am doing, the idea of agent, we have to perform action. We cannot sit quietly saying, oh, I have reached the stage. That is the bottommost point of tamas, inertia. But the highest stage, both looks alike. All actions drop away from the Paramahamsa. In the Gita, Sri Krishna says, Esto atma redireva syat atma triptasya manavaha atmanyevaja sandushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. Whoever delights in the self alone and is content and satisfied in the self, for such a person, there is no obligatory duty to discharge. The person's interest, delight is in the self, capital S. That is Atman, in the real self within you. And is content and satisfied in the self. That person doesn't need any external objects, external things, does not depend on anything external for satisfaction, for happiness, for enjoyment, please, joy. Joy comes from within. For such a person, there is no obligatory duty. We all have got obligatory duties, but not for such a person. When there is not seeking anything externally for happiness, that person is not under any moral obligation. We say we have the five debt to pay. Debt to the gods, debt to our ancestors, debt to the sages, debt to fellow human beings and other creatures. The 5 types of debts. So we have to repay all those debts. To the sages, we repay the debt by studying the scriptures. To the devas, by worship. Pitrus, our ancestors, by continuing the line of family, begetting children. And fellow human beings, by charity, looking after them and other creatures, protecting the environment, all those things. But for a person who has realized, who has united with self, realized the self, who is content and satisfied in the self alone, for such a person there is no duty, no obligatory duty at all to perform. He is a free spirit. He gains nothing and he loses nothing. He gains nothing by performing an action. He loses nothing by not performing an action. We do something to get something or to avoid losing something. But this person, nothing. Whether something comes to him or not at all concerned. So he is a free spirit. If he ever performs an action, it is to teach men. A man may be united with God either through action or through inwardness of thought. That is through meditation. But he can know everything through bhakti. Because you have to see Sri Ramakrishna talking to different people. There is some devotees also. So he's saying, you can reach God through be united with God, that's state of yoga through action or mental concentration. But all this can be reached through bhakti also, devotion also. Through bhakti, one spontaneously experiences kumbhaga. The breath is stopped. The nerve currents and breathing calm down when the mind is concentrated. The nerve currents and breathing calm down when the mind is concentrated. Again, the mind is concentrated when the nerve currents and breathing calm down. They go together. Once the mind is concentrated, breathing and nerve current slows down. And when the breathing and nerve currents slows down, the mind gets concentrated. So you cannot think that, oh, I'll wait for the mind to calm down and then I will go forward for breathing. No. Or think that, oh, I will first calm down the breathing and the nerves current, then I'll start meditating. No, they go together. They affect each other. Then the buddhi, the discriminating mind, power becomes steady. The man who achieves this, the man who achieves this state is not himself aware of it. It becomes very natural. He began not consciously trying to achieve this state. It comes naturally because of his devotion to God. One can attain everything through Bhakti Yoga. Sri Ramakrishna, in the Gospel, when you read, we often get the idea that Sri Ramakrishna is projecting Bhakti Yoga more because he is talking to householders. The whole Gospel is noted by M when he was present. That is mostly on holidays when other devotees are there. And there may be young disciples will be there, but there are other householder devotees are there. So Sri Ramakrishna is talking to them. And for them, especially in this age, he says, Bhakti Yoga, yoga of devotion is the easiest. One can attain everything through Bhakti Yoga. I wept before the mother and prayed, "O mother, please tell me, please reveal to me what the yogis have realized through yoga and the jnanis through discrimination." And the mother has revealed everything to me. She reveals everything if the devotee cries to her with a yearning heart. She has shown me everything that is in the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Puranas, and the Tantra. Through devotion to Divine Mother, he's saying he got everything. Mother showed everything. And when you study Sri Ramakrishna's life, first he had the vision of Mother Kali without the guidance of any guru. By his own effort, he went forward. Then the Bhairavi Brahmani and other gurus came. And every time, even when Totapuri came and asked, do you want to be initiated into Vedanta? He said, I'll ask mother. And he went straight away to Todapuri, thought that he'll be going to ask his mother, biological mother. He didn't realize that he was going to ask the divine mother. So mother shows everything. When whatever is needed, mother gives him. That's why Sri Ramakrishna says, if she reveals everything, if a devotee cries to her with a yearning heart, simply saying won't do. We have to have sincere yearning, sincere longing for God, then mother will reveal everything. What is your duty? He's talking to Manilal and others. What is your duty? You should renounce woman and gold mentally. Not giving up externally. He never asked his household disciples to give up everything and become monks. No. Yama actually wanted, again and again, he asked Sri Ramakrishna, he wanted to renounce, become a monk. Sri Ramakrishna said, no. You have to live in the world. You have to look after your family. He never allowed his, I couldn't say never allowed, but usually, generally, he didn't allow his household disciples to become monks. So show how to live in the world, in the family, holding on to God. Be an example. That's how Sri Ramakrishna used to tell them. To Mahendra of Sindhi. That Pandit from Sindhi is very good. He holds the title, he holds a title for his scholarship. He respects me. I said to him, you have read a great deal, but give up the vanity that you are a scholar. That made him very happy. I discussed Vedanta with him. So Mahendra is from Sindhi, and this Pandit the scholar had come with Mahendra, so Sri Ramakrishna is praising the Pandit. Though Sri Ramakrishna told him, give up the vanity that you are a scholar, the Pandit took it in the right sense, and he was very happy because he is not just a scholar, he is trying to practice what the scriptures are saying. There is a big difference between scholar and spiritual aspirant. Scholar just studies, professors. Now, a philosophy professor, Indian philosophy is part of it's not like Western philosophy, it has nothing to do with God or religion. Indian philosophy is dealing with religion. But philosophers are philosophers, professors are philosophy professor. So philosophy professor, that doesn't make a person a spiritual aspirant. As Maharaji often used to say, Dr. Ramakrishna is a great philosopher. People respect him. But there's a big difference between Dr. Ramakrishna and one of the Shankaracharyas of the four much, or any of the other spiritual gurus. Because he's a professor, he's a philosopher, and of course, compared to other philosophers, he's a great man. But still, there's a big difference. But this, when Sri Ramakrishna told him, give up the vanity that you are a scholar, that made him very happy. So Sri Ramakrishna was very happy to discuss Vedanta with him, to Yam. That which is pure Atman is unattached. Maya or avidya is in it. In Maya, there are three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. These three gunas also exist in the pure Atman, but Atman itself is unattached. Atman, the self within us, is unattached. We get attached because of Maya or avidya, ignorance. And ignorance is because of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. It's in everybody, in everything in the universe. And Sri Ramakrishna says, these three gunas are in the Atman also, but Atman is not attached. Atman is an eternal witness. So gunas doesn't have any control over the or cannot affect the Atman. Whereas we are in Maya with the three gunas catch us. We are under their control. A butcher was carrying a load of meat when he touched Shankara. It's from the life of Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya was in Benares. He was going to the Ganga to take his bath. After his bath, he was coming back when from the other side, a butcher came with a low-caste man came with a load of meat on his head. And in Benares, the paths were very narrow. Now it's different, but till a few years ago, it was a very narrow path. So he touched. Shankara exclaimed, "What? You have touched me." Now, low-caste man touched. Now he has to go and have bath again. He was polluted. The butcher replied, "Venerable sir, neither have you touched me, nor have I touched you. You are pure Atman, unattached." What touched what? This body touched that body. The body is made up of the 5 elements. The 5 elements are in that body as well as in this body. What's the difference? There's nothing. So, or if you think about the Atman is pure, ever pure. It can never be polluted. The same Atman is in you and the same Atman is in me. So who touched whom? That was an eye-opener for Shankaracharya. And then instantly he composed 5 verses saying that he who knows the real self, whether he is a Chandala low caste or a Brahmana, he is my Guru, and prostrated. And there's a story that when he finished prostrating, he found it was not Chandala, it was Lord Shiva. Came to remove that bit of ignorance from Shankaracharya's mind. We never know from where you get the ignorance is removed in which ways. There's a life in Swami Vivekananda's life. There is the incident when he was staying as the guest of Maharaja of Khetri. One day, one Raja is having a musical performance recital, and he invited Swamiji to come and attend it. Swamiji said, as a monk, it's not for him. And the dancing girl, the Nautch girl who was going to perform, had heard that this great monk is there, he'll be attending. She was very happy. When she found that he is not attending, in a very plaintive tone, she sang one of these songs by Surdas. "O Lord, look not for my faults, your name is same-sighted." The butcher's knife touch the philosopher's stone, it becomes gold. There's no difference. Then the shape will be there, but it won't go to anything. The water of the Ganga falls in the ditch. The ditch water falls in the Ganga, it becomes holy. So don't look at my shortcomings. Your name is same-sighted. And Swamiji went back to his room, but he could hear that. And then he came and said, "Mother, you opened my eyes. You removed the ignorance, that the pride that I am a monk, but the same Atman is in you and in me." The pure Atman is unattached. That's what low-caste man taught Shankaracharya. The butcher replied, "Venerable sir, neither have you touched me, nor have I touched you. You are pure Atman, unattached." The pure Atman is unattached, and one cannot see it. That which is the pure Atman is the great cause, the cause of the cause. The gross, the subtle, the causal, and the great cause. The 5 elements are gross. Mind, buddhi, ego are subtle. Prakriti, the primal energy, is the cause of these. And Brahman, the pure Atman, is the cause of the cause. So from step by step, he's going from gross to subtle, subtler, and subtlest. The five elements, air, fire, water, earth, space, they are the gross. Our body is made up of these gross elements. Then behind that, there is the subtle mind, buddhi, ego. Can anybody see the mind? We all know we have got mind. We are talking about mind control, going to what's that? Psychology, psychiatrist. Has anybody seen the mind? Now we'll say we don't believe in God because we don't see God. Do you believe that you don't have a mind? Because can you see the mind? No, we don't see the mind. Can you see the buddhi? Can you see the ego sense? But we have got all that. They're subtle. Subtle things you cannot see. And then still a subtler one behind the mind, buddhi, and ego is the prakriti, the primal energy, which is the cause of all these things. From the prakriti, primal energy, comes buddhi, mind, ego, everything. And then the five gross elements. And behind the prakriti, behind this cause is a cause of cause. That's Brahman. So that's subtlest. This pure Atman alone is our real nature. That is our real nature. That is what we really are. And what is jnana? It is to know one's own self and keep the mind in it. It is to know the pure Atman, that is knowledge. How long should a man perform his duties? That question comes. How long should we perform our duties? Is there any things that time limit that that's enough, you don't have to perform anymore? As long as he identifies himself with the body. In other words, as long as he thinks he is a body. As long as we think that we are the body, then we have to perform action. We have to do something or action, some action or other. Even those who are given up all action and living as ascetics, they have to do their daily obligatory duty. They have to keep the body clean, beg for food or have food, eating, meditating, all this, breathing, everything goes on. But once the identification with the body goes, then whether you do or not doesn't matter at all. And even if you do action, there is no identification with the body. There is no sense of agent. I am doing, that sense is not there. So it is as though you are not doing it. There's no difference at all. To the bearded Brahmo devotee from Shivpur, are you a Brahmo? Sri Ramakrishna didn't know who he was. He just said that he came from Shivpur. Are you a Brahmo devotee? Yes, sir. Master smiling. I can recognize a worshipper of the formless by looking at his face and eyes. Sri Ramakrishna could recognize the person straight away, what path he is following, or what is the, whether he is the follower of Vishnu, or follower of Shiva, or follower of Divine Mother, or follower of the formless aspect, just by looking at the person. Still, he used to ask people, do you believe in God with form or without form? Just to get an idea how far they have understood it. But he could straight away, seeing the person, he can understand. You see? I can recognize a worshipper of the formless by looking at his face and eyes. Please dive a little deeper. One doesn't get the gem by floating on the surface. Then he is giving this instruction to this particular devotee. Go deeper. Just at present you are on the surface, floating on the surface. Gems, the realization that you are the Atman is deep down, the bottom of the lake. You have to dive deeper. One doesn't get the gem by floating on the surface. As for myself, I accept all, the formless God and God with form. The Marwari devotees from Bedobasar entered the room and saluted the master. He began to praise them. Master to the devotees. They are real devotees of God. They visit temples, sing hymns to God, and eat prasad. And the gentleman whom they have made their priest this year is learned in the Bhagavata. He is praising the Marwari devotees. And we can see in another place, they took him, they're having a big festival, Annakut festival, and they took Sri Ramakrishna to their place and to participate in that festival. Sri Ramakrishna went and because they are sincere devotees. A devotee. Revered sir, what happens after death? Master. According to the Gita, one becomes afterwards what one thinks of at the time of death. King Bharata thought of his deer and became a deer in his next life. Therefore, one must practice sadhana in order to realize God. If a man thinks of God day and night, he will have the same thought in the hour of death. Gita says one becomes, depending upon the thought at the time of death, we get the next birth. And what will be the thought at the time of death? The thought which is predominant all through our life. What we are thinking always, that will be that at the time of death. We may calculate now we will enjoy life, all the pleasures of the life, and when I get old, I'll think about God. No, it doesn't happen. If you have been enjoying the pleasures of the world all through, without paying any attention to God, then even in your old age, you will be hankering after the pleasures of God, pleasures of the world. And then there will be a lot of disappointment and depression because the body has worn out, the senses to have lost their power. Still, so you can't be, you are not able to enjoy the pleasures as you did when you are young. So think of God, as Sri Ramakrishna said earlier, hold on to God with one hand and do the duty, enjoy the pleasures. They never said don't enjoy the pleasures. Enjoy the pleasures, but keep part of your mind on God. Then, as you grow older, give more and more thought to God. Then at the time of death, that thought will be there. Whether you are conscious externally or it is a conscious or unconscious state, still the thought will be there. The question often comes up, what happens to the person who dies in coma? Gives up the body, got into a state of coma and then dies. Then you say the thought of God will be there at the last moment. If you have been practicing devotion or thought of God all through your life, even though externally you are unconscious, that thought will be there. Devotee. Why don't we feel dispassion towards worldly objects? Why do we feel so attracted to worldly objects? Why don't we feel a bit of dispassion towards worldly objects? Master, because of Maya. Through Maya, one feels the real to be the unreal and unreal to be the real. Here, real means which is always existing, which does not change. That is the Atman or Brahman. And the unreal is which changes. Everything in the world is changing. Everything in the universe is changing. That is called unreal. Through Maya, one feels the real to be the unreal. For us, God is not real. Brahman, say out of question, even think of God. Do we feel that God is real? Do we really feel that God is present within us or God is present in a shrine or anything? God is not yet real for us. We are striving towards that, that's true. But We haven't reached that stage where we can say, yes, God is the only reality. No, for us at present, the world is a real. So we have to move forward and think that no, this world is unreal. It is changing. It is perishable, but God alone is the real, unchanging, imperishable entity. Real means that which is eternal, the Supreme Brahman. The unreal means that which is non-eternal, that is to say, the world. In another place, Sri Ramakrishna says, when he was asked, why don't we feel dispassion? He said, you have to get satiated with the enjoyment. Till you get satiated with the enjoyments, you cannot feel dispassion. For example, he gives an example, a child is playing with toys. A new toy, the child got a new toy and it's playing with it. You take the toy from the child will scream at the top of the voice. And then the child is playing and playing. After some time, maybe quite some time, played with it, get bored. Then it throws the toy away and screams for the mother. Then you go and tell your child, I'll take you to mother. Immediately will come with you. Got satiated with the enjoyment. So when you tell the young person, when people are in the young youth, think about God all the time. No, they have to go through the enjoyment. They have to get satiated with the enjoyment. Only then they'll turn towards the higher things. Some people, they may have finished their enjoyment in the previous life, so they may turn from the young age. But till you get satiated with the enjoyment, you cannot think of God. That's why Swamiji says religion is not for empty stomach. When they are feeling the pinch of hunger, you think about God, think about God. No. First, give them basic necessities, food, clothing, shelter, and then enjoyment or the pleasures of the world. Then they have gone through the enjoyment, then comes the stage of satiation. If you finish, I have enjoyed, that's enough. Now, what more? What's next? Then come the higher ideal. We read the scriptures. Why is it that we can't assimilate them? That's another question. We read them. We read all this in the scriptures. Why can't we assimilate? Master, what will one accomplish by mere reading? One needs spiritual practice, austerity. Call on God. What is the use of merely repeating the word siddhi? That is intoxicating thing. One must eat a little of it. So mere reading won't do. Mere reading will give you, as I said earlier, you make you a scholar and intellectual, but that won't take you on the spiritual path. We have to practice what is given in the scriptures. Put them, practice sincerely, earnestly. But of course, reading is necessary. That's the first step. So the Vedanta says, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. First to hear. Hearing means Shravanam, hearing, literally. That includes reading also. That's the first step. Then think about it. Finally, meditate on it and make it your own. Then comes, only then assimilation happens. We will be able to assimilate the teachings of the scriptures. Thank you.
So we have the yoga class this Thursday from 10 to 11:15 a.m. The spiritual evening fortnightly discussion on Friday night from 7:30, led by Gayatriprana. The topic for Gayatriprana's talk next Sunday is freedom, the basic human attribute. The following week, there's a couple of things to specially note. On Thursday the 16th, Gayatriprana and Gayatriprana will be going to the National Museum of Australia, and they'll be in a pop-up event at an exhibition there, which is called Feared and Revered, feminine power throughout the ages. They've already been to that exhibition once and met the curators and did some impromptu chanting in the exhibition beside a statue of Mother Kali. And the curators were so impressed with that. And it even went over to the British Museum. They showed a video to the British Museum of that chanting because the British Museums lent a lot of their exhibits for this. So anyway, you're invited to come along, anyone who's free on that day, Thursday the 16th. It'll be a fairly full day. We're going to be leaving at about 7:30 in the morning from Sydney. The pop-up event's at 2 p.m. It's just a short 15-minute event. Then we have to get back to Sydney. So I will put more information about that in our weekly email. But yes, you're most welcome to join us. That weekend, the following weekend, from Saturday evening the 18th to Sunday the 19th of March, we've got a Dharma retreat led by Gayatriprana. Of course, you're welcome to attend that. The other thing to let you know about, on the 6th and 7th of May, the Ramakrishna Sharada Mission in Trivandrum is celebrating their Golden Jubilee. And of course, that's very significant for us because that centre was started by revered Mataji Gayatriprana all those years ago. So they have invited Gayatriprana and have invited me too to come for that event. So we'll be flying out on Thursday, the 4th of May. Again, you all are welcome to attend that. They will, of course, be very happy to have devotees from Sydney, especially the ones that they've come to know over the years. So we'll keep reminding you about that. Have donation plate and donation box, and we'll conclude with listening to a guided meditation by Gayatriprana Mataji.
The rishis of Samaveda sing, listen to the melodious music of the divine poet. He plays upon the flute of love. The notes soar to high heavens and reach the distant stars. They dance on the raging waves of the sea. The earth, the sea, the sky, the stars are all woven together by the soft strains of the divine music. Its vibrations echo through the corridors of time in the endless canopy of the sky. That same music is ringing through every part of our body. The divine light of cosmic intelligence, which is of golden radiance and sweet resonance, descends from its infinite abode to inspire us when we invoke its presence in our meditation. O Lord of divine light and silent peace, mayest thou accept the praises recited in silence by our hearts in the voiceless language of our yearning and love. Let us try to feel the stream of divine consciousness that is flowing gently and quietly, silently and smoothly through our veins. The light of supreme intelligence is shining in our intellect and illumining the pathway of our nerves and vital powers. The auspicious music accompanying the dance of the cosmic spheres is reverberating through our senses and organism in the celestial rhythmic flow. Awake, O sleeping beauty of my soul, the time of slumber and darkness is over. The storm and thunder of the night of ignorance and forgetfulness has passed away. The bright and glorious dawn of wisdom is appearing within the heart to lead us from triumph to triumph along the long illumined path of life. Let us tell ourselves, we have reached the safe harbor of our real source, the sweet shores of perpetual purity, the quiet land of undisturbed peace, which is our real home. We had strayed away long and far into the turbulent unrealities of ephemeral pleasures and the dark whirlpools of worldly attractions. Today, in these few moments of quietness, let us try to relax, collect ourselves, and feel the presence of our inner soul. Let us try to see the limitless ocean of the blue waters of the cosmic heart, pulsating within us. Look closely. It is there. The large, expansive stretches of the blue waters of the cosmic heart. We are a part and parcel of the cosmos. So the cosmic heart, the limitless expanse of the blue waters, are there within our heart. It is resplendent with a silver radiance. See the surface of the water? Shining with a silver radiance because of the presence of divinity inside, hidden inside the heart. Just that. We are not puny little human beings. We carry the infinite cosmic heart within us. The heart that is pulsating within us is in tune with the rhythm of the cosmic heart. Feel the expanse of infinity within and around us. Forget the limitations of the body. That is a transparent covering. We are within and without. The glittering, shining, resplendent waters of the cosmic heart are slowly pulsating, gently moving inside us and outside us. We are one with that. That is our real nature. These limitations of individuation, personalized form, are but imagination. We are infinite. Just feel the flow of strength rushing through every part of the body, which can stand as a balance between the infinity inside and the infinity outside. We are revived and renewed with the tremendous energy of infinite divinity. Just let us try to feel ourselves light, not heavy, just floating in the infinite shining blue waters of cosmic dimensions. It's all still, peaceful, quiet, silent. God is silence, and in silence we can experience God. There is silence inside you. There is silence outside you. Feel the silence. Give up all limitations. We are infinite. Hari Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace.